to toughen up. And what happened with me was I was quite fortunate because they used to, so they separated us. So there was a boarding school in Gloucester, and essentially most of the boys went to the Gloucester boarding school. Now I was supposed to go there, and God, this story is troublesome as well. So what happened was it was called Blaisdon School for Boys, and I went there for a weekend because that was where they sent troubled children, and the thing was, I don't think we were troubled children. I just think we were children that were in trouble. I mean, how are you not going to be troubled?
Yeah, exactly.
How are you not going to be a troubled person? So I go to this thing for the weekend, and this was John Brown's Schoolboys. This was terrifying. And I remember being in a place called the infirmary. I had to sleep there the night, and all I could hear was all this screaming. It was absolutely terrifying.
It's called the infirmary.
It was called the infirmary. It was terrifying.
It sounds like hell already.
It was
It's got screaming.
deep. Damn it, it was deep. The thing, of course, what I haven't told you was I also had this really odd thing hanging over me, which was that when two really significant things my foster mother had said to me that had kind of really gone in deep into my soul, and I hadn't really talked about them, but they were always there. They were kind of noise in the background. One was we had this supermarket called Budgeon's, which was like the big supermarket. Do you all know that? Yeah, so that was the supermarket.
Yeah.
And I'd been in there with her one day, and I dropped this huge great thing of pickled onions she'd asked me to pick up, and she screamed at the top of her voice, "You always break everything." And it kind of went in. It just sort of dropped into my heart, and it was so it became about, if anything ever went wrong in a relationship, I would hear her, "You always break everything." And then she'd said to me one day, she said, let me tell you, she goes, "You will be in prison by the time you're 16 years of age. There is no doubt about that whatsoever."
She said that to you when you were a child?
When I was a child, right? And that was in my spirit as well. That had got hold of me as well. So once, for example, I was out playing, just being a bit mischievous, playing out on the we had this swing. It used to go across this little river brook or whatever it was, and I was playing on the swing just on my own, just doing my thing. And this policeman came on the bridge and shouted out, "Oi!" he said, and I literally fell from the thing and physically wet myself, because that policeman meant that this
prophecy of
was going to come true.
16,
and I just didn't know what to do. I was and so these things kind of in an odd way kind of just
simmering,
they simmer with you. So now I find myself in this prison. It couldn't be anything. There's no other way to explain it. And the infirmary is, as you say. So the morning comes, and it's a Sunday morning, and we went down for breakfast, and there were these huge, great long benches. I mean, like literally John Brown School days benches with sort of 20 boys on each bench like this, and it was like this sea of benches. So I marched down to the end, and I met this boy called Ray, and it turns out Ray was from Joey's, and Ray was a sad story, because Ray committed suicide in the end, and that was a whole sad story. I had to officiate his funeral. That was a nightmare. Anyway, I'll maybe tell you about that. Yeah. So Ray said, "Just go and sit down there," and he said, "Just keep your head down." Now, so it was Sunday, which meant that you used to wear a tie, because that's like how we would. That's it. That's how it was in our little house. But we used to wear these clip-on ties. So you used to get from the co-op. I had this little clip-on tie, and I sat there. So I'm sitting there opposite this boy, and his name is Uggy, this boy, and he said to me, we're starting to breakfast. He says, "Why are you wearing a tie?" And I went, "Because it's Sunday."
Yeah.
He said, "You taking a piss?" I went, "No." I'm seriously. You asked me a question.
Yeah,
that was the answer to the question. I don't understand why this is. I don't understand why this is complicated. Yeah. What do you mean? So he goes, "Only puffs wear ties." Now, this is the second time I heard that expression, and I thought I really do need to look this word up, because I don't know what it means. But this is the second time I've heard this. So I went, and then he went, and there was this one other boy who was kind of just a bit further down, who was the only other kid in the entire refectory wearing a tie. Unfortunately for him, it wasn't clip-on, it was a proper tie. And he grabbed this kid by the tie, smashed his face on the dining room table. The kid's face just gave out. I then was like in just total panic, right? The place was just about to kick off. this priest comes bounding across 4 or 5 of the dining tables, grabs this kid Uggy with one hand and one movement, headbutts him. The kid slithers down onto the ground, and I thought,
where am I?
this is like breakfast on a Sunday morning. Are you out of your mind? I'm
That's
like,
a priest that did that.
this is deep.
Yeah.
I can't be. This is mad. I just got to get out of this place.
Yeah.
So I survived breakfast, and then you go off to the prayer thing, and I thought, dear God, if ever there's a day to prayer, this is going to be it.
Yeah.
So, and then next thing you know, they take you out, we're going swimming. So, yeah, all right, cool. So they take you out swimming in the middle of this field, and they just go, okay, get changed. And you go, where's the changing room? And there isn't a changing room. Just get changed. She's like, am I missing something?
Yeah.
Is this something? It's asylum.
Yeah.
So we go out of there. Then we go back and play football in this big pen place. And I tell you what, Damini, I love football. If I see a ball, that's it. I thought, this is the first time in my life I had no interest in playing football. I'm like, is there a knitting class or anything? I just ain't gonna. I can't get involved in this. So I finally get out of there over the weekend, and I said to it was a man called Father Berry. I said to him driving home, I said, I can't do this. I can't go here. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. It'll be a great place for you and all the rest of it. So my second foster parents hadn't quite, was still here. They'd moved to Australia. And I took the 107 bus from Enfield up to Kingsbury and walked up to their house and said, I don't know what to do. And I told this lady, Kate, what was happening. She said, right, she kind of coached me what to say. So I went back to the home and I said, I really appreciate you wanting to give me this good chance in my education, but to be honest, I think the place will be wasted on me because I don't think this is good. And I sort of talked it through. I did a whole proper, PowerPoint, everything. I did the whole thing. So they said, okay. And they said, well, we think you should be going. And I said, well, and I would put my argument. And they said, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll try you for a term at St. Ignatius, the Jesuit college.
Oh, yeah, St. Ignatius. In Enfield.
In Enfield,
North London, yeah.
So they sent me to St. Ignatius, and I loved it. I loved St. Ignatius, and St. Ignatius loved me. It was just a fit. We just got on really well, and they left me there. And so the point of telling you all of that is that the really, really tough boys went to the Blaisdon. So what that meant was, I had the run of the place until the holidays.
Okay.
When the holidays came, I was in charge. Yeah. But when the holidays came, it's all the nutcase got let out of solitary confinement. Yeah. It was madness. Yeah. And so then it was tricky and it got really, really hard. And funny, Ray, who had looked after me, when he came back from holiday, heard me one day and he pulled me up and he said, don't become like us. Yeah. He said, I remember when you came up to Blaisdon, you were the politest, well-spoken boy. He said, don't be like us. Yeah. But the point was, what he didn't realise was, you did what you did to fit in because
to survive. Yeah,
of course, survival. Of course. Yeah. So we kind of got on with life. I had a nemesis, a boy that he and I had terrible troubles, and he used to come and smash the window and demand that I go out and fight with him and all the rest of it. Yeah. And then we ended up having this huge, great showdown, this big fight, and I beat him actually. And he told me, interestingly, when we were 50, we were having dinner together. We didn't see each other much, and he said to me, the reason I gave you so much trouble when you came to the orphanage was because as soon as you came, nobody was interested in me again. And it was like you took all the light away. All the shine, yeah. All the shine went, or you always had the girls were always with you, everybody was with you, and he said, that can't happen on my patch, So he said I had to do something about it. And so it was really interesting. Yeah. We had a really honest conversation about it. But you kind of find a rhythm, you just make it work. And so I stayed in the orphanage there from 1970 through to 1977. And then 7 years. In 1977, we came back to St. Charles Square and they gave us a place in the Crusader Rescue and we trashed it. It was a disaster.